Man, it is really tough to think of anything to say that's good about these hearing aids. Hey guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and in this video, I'm sharing my top picks for hearing aids that I would personally avoid here in 2026. Now, I think it's pretty apparent that hearing aid technology consistently gets better from year to year. In 2025, we saw some amazing technological advancements in the hearing aid space, which resulted in some pretty amazing new hearing aids, many of which I would highly recommend to individuals with hearing loss. However, there are some hearing aids that I would personally stay away from for a variety of different reasons. But before I share my list of all the hearing aids that I would personally avoid here in 2026, do me a huge favor and click the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on, go ahead and do that as well. It's greatly appreciated. And let me know down in the comments section if there are certain hearing aids that you would personally avoid and why. Now, before I get started, let me go ahead and share a quick disclaimer. This video reflects my professional opinion as an audiologist based on my clinical experience and publicly available information. This content is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and individual results may vary depending on hearing loss, fitting, and follow-up care. That being said, the first hearing aid that I would avoid here in 2026 is the Jabra Enhanced Select. Jabra is the sister brand of major hearing aid manufacturer ReSound that are both part of the GN Group. The reason I would personally avoid the Jabra Enhanced Select hearing aids is primarily due to their delivery model. The Jabra Enhanced hearing aids are only sold online, which prevents Jabra from being able to follow comprehensive audiologic best practices, which includes real ear measurement. Now, just in case you were unaware, real ear measurement is the only way to ensure that your hearing aids are programmed correctly to your hearing loss prescription. They can only be performed in a clinic setting because they require placing probe microphone tubes inside of your ears and adjusting the programming of your hearing aids, taking your unique ear canal size and shape into account when programming your devices. It can be extremely difficult to ensure optimal hearing aid programming without real ear measurement, which ultimately leads to subpar performance. This is just one example of the programming that I verified with real ear measurement of one of my patients who had purchased a pair of Jabra Enhanced Select hearing aids online. Ideally, you would like to see the solid purple curve, which indicates the amplification levels of the hearing aids across the frequency range, to overlap with the purple hash mark curves, which is the prescription for this individual's hearing loss. Anywhere the solid curve is above the hash mark curve, the individual is being over-amplified. And anywhere it's below the hash mark curve, the individual is being under-amplified. This was after numerous virtual programming sessions with the Jabra audiologist to try and optimize the programming. Needless to say, this individual did not have success with their Jabra Enhanced Select hearing aids, primarily because the programming could not be verified with real ear measurement, because that cannot be done virtually. The other reason I would personally avoid Jabra Enhanced Select hearing aids is because of all the affiliate websites that are out there that rank Jabra Enhanced as the top-rated hearing aid. In my opinion, affiliate-driven rankings can create conflicts of interest that make it harder for consumers to evaluate products objectively, which is also a big reason why the second hearing aid on this year's list of hearing aids that I would personally avoid here in 2026 is any hearing aid from Audien Hearing. Audien currently offers multiple different hearing aids, including the Ion Pro 2, the Atom X, and the Atom 1. Somehow Audien always ranks at the top of these affiliate website rankings as well, despite the fact that they have horrible third-party objective testing data from HearAdvisor. Now, if you're unaware, HearAdvisor is an independent hearing aid testing lab that objectively tests hearing aid performance, and the Audien hearing aids do not fare very well in that testing. Audien was also a recipient of a cease and desist letter from the Attorney General's office here in Arizona due to deceptive advertising tactics. Based on how Audien does their marketing, all available data, and my professional experience, I would never choose to wear Audien hearing aids. This leads me to the third hearing aid on this year's list of hearing aids that I would personally avoid in 2026, which is any hearing aid that's sold on Amazon. Not only are most of the quote hearing aids sold on Amazon more like just generic amplifiers, but I'd be seriously concerned that I'd be purchasing counterfeit hearing aids. There are widespread reports of counterfeit electronic devices being sold in large online marketplaces, which would give me a little bit of concern for medical devices like hearing aids. This means that you may think that you're purchasing a legitimate hearing aid brand on Amazon, only to find out that it was a cheap counterfeit knockoff. Sure, you can always get your money back from Amazon if you do not have success with whatever devices you purchase on their website, but some of these knockoffs look so real nowadays that you may not even realize that the reason why your performance sucks is because you're not using a legitimate hearing aid. On top of that, many of these devices you purchase on Amazon have no way to custom adjust them. You can either increase all of the volume or decrease all of the volume, and devices like that are suitable for very few people with hearing loss. Basically, if you want to be happy with the hearing aids that you purchase in 2026, Don't buy them from Amazon. Now, the fourth hearing aid that I would personally avoid here in 2026 is any prescription hearing aid purchased from a hearing care professional's office that does not follow comprehensive audiologic best practices. Best practices are a long list of procedures that a hearing care professional must follow if they want to maximize your performance with hearing aids. This means if you purchase the best hearing aids in the world, but those hearing aids are not fit and programmed following best practices, then you will not be hearing your absolute best. Some of these best practices include speech and noise testing, test box diagnostic measures, real ear measurement verification that I mentioned before, and validation outcome measures. And these are only 4 of many best practices that must be completed by your hearing care professional for optimal hearing performance. I'll go ahead and link a free download to the full best practice checklist down in the description. Unfortunately, because best practices requires more time and professional expertise, it's estimated that less than 5% of hearing care professionals actually follow best practices, which means that it's incredibly difficult to find one of these rare providers. But if you want an easy way to ensure that your hearing care professional here in 2026 follows best practices, make sure that you check out my website hearingup.com and find a Hearing Up Network member in your area. Hearing Up members have been vetted and are committed to following comprehensive audiologic best practices with whatever hearing aids you choose to use. So if you want to make sure that the hearing aids you purchase here in 2026 work as advertised, then finding a Hearing Up Network member in your area is your best bet. That being said, the fifth hearing aid that I would personally avoid here in 2026 is any hearing aid purchased through an online discount network like Fit Hearing or Zip Hearing. The reason I would personally avoid getting hearing aids from one of these online discount networks is that you have very little control over the quality of the provider that you get the hearing aids from. These websites basically just take your location and refer you to whoever's closest who's willing to sell you these hearing aids at a discount. Sure, you'll be able to save yourself a little bit of money going this route, but the professional that you see is just getting paid a small fitting fee, and there's no guarantee that they're actually going to be providing you with high quality care. Now, I must admit, it can be pretty enticing to see the low discounted rates that they publish on their websites, but buyer beware. I just got done explaining how important best practices are, and the chances of you receiving best practices from one of the providers in these networks, in my opinion, is pretty low. If you want to go ahead and roll the dice and purchase a pair of hearing aids from one of these online discount networks, go right ahead. Just don't blame me if you don't have success and you still can't hear. The sixth hearing aid that I would personally avoid here in 2026 is any prescription hearing aids sold online for a variety of reasons. Not only can you not receive best practice audiologic care, including real ear measurement like I mentioned before, but in most cases, prescription hearing aids purchased online are from unauthorized sellers. So if you ever run into any issues with your hearing aids, the hearing aid manufacturer may not honor your warranty and they may refuse to do any repairs. You may even run into issues with local hearing aid clinics refusing to service those devices or provide any programming if you're not having success with them. You also receive little or no support from online hearing aid companies because once they make the sale, they are pretty much done with you. And there's only so many things that they can do with their online customer service and virtual programming. Firmware updates are an excellent example. You cannot have a firmware update done on a hearing aid remotely, which means that you have to be inside of the hearing care professional's clinic. This means that if you want to have a firmware update done on your hearing aids that come out a couple times a year, you would have to send those devices back to the online hearing aid company, assuming that they'd even be willing to do the firmware update for you. If they are willing to do the firmware update for you, just be prepared to be without your hearing aids anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. And no, most online hearing aid companies will not send you a loaner pair of devices that you can use in the interim, which basically means that you have to go without hearing for nearly a month. I don't care how good the deal is, you're basically signing yourself up for several years of pain and suffering until you inevitably purchase your next pair of hearing aids from a local provider. And the last hearing aid that I would personally avoid here in 2026 is the Apple AirPods Pro 3. Now don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my Apple AirPods Pro 3. I love them even better than my AirPods Pro 2. But when I'm using them as wireless earbuds, not as hearing aids. They have fantastic noise reduction that pretty much blocks out all of the background noise. But when I use them as hearing aids, I don't hear that well. And the thing that I dislike the most is the occlusion effect, which is the sound of your own voice being really boomy and loud because they completely occlude your ear canals. Of course, they do cost less than $300, so my level of expectation should be really low with these devices. Now, if you can't afford anything else, by all means, get yourself a pair of AirPods Pro 3, set them up. I even have a tutorial tutorial on my YouTube channel for how to set them up as hearing aids, but if you're trying to hear your absolute best here in 2026, I would definitely personally avoid going with the AirPods Pro 3. And there you go. Those are all of my top picks for all the hearing aids that I would avoid here in 2026. That being said, if you're more interested in knowing which hearing aids I think are the absolute best here in 2026, make sure that you check out my Best of 2026 Hearing Aid video series that I will link in the description, and I even have it linked in the card right over here if you want to click on it to watch those videos.